Excellent. Okay, so folks, thank you all for joining. I will start us off here. Please, as folks come in, I'm sure they'll continue to let us know where they're from. Housekeeping items, as always. Yes, this is being recorded. Yes, we will send you the recording. Yes, I will send you the slides as well. So don't worry about having to write down or furiously scribble any notes as we go through here, because we know a lot of this stuff is interesting. You want to take it back to your organization, but we will send you that. We'll send you the slides. We'll send you the recording. If you have questions as we go, hit that Q&A button. Q&A is always where we will go to answer all the questions. A lot of times people will write a question in the chat. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. Lots of times it disappears. So if you really have something burning, put it in Q&A, and then it will pop up on our screen, and we can make sure to answer it from there. So with that, I will dive in today. Might be a little bit shorter. I always promise that, and then we get a ton of questions, and I feel like I've misled people. But we're just focusing on one specific topic today and really one specific email. So I'm joined by the brilliant Stacy Cope. Stacy, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent.
It's shining in Omaha today. It's awesome.
I know, isn't it nice out there? We're pumped. I have to go back to my parents. I get to go back to my parents in Western Iowa this weekend, and it's a super old house, right? No air conditioning, just like a couple window units, like this big old Victorian thing. So it's always like, as you get to within like that 10-day window, when you start to, okay, is it going to be 90 degrees? Like, how bad is it going to be to try and fall asleep? It's not looking terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stacy's in charge of all of our automation. She's director of our automation division. She works with Austin Brown and the rest of our team. So we're going to talk about this magic email, this incredible case study that we want to share with the world from one of our clients. So that's what we're here to talk about today. As background, for those of you who have not attended one of our webinars before, if there's anybody left in the nonprofit world that hasn't attended our regular webinars, we all work at Prenger Solutions Group. We are a consulting firm. That's kind of how we started. We do fundraising consulting. Our niche is largely Catholic dioceses running these big $5, $10, $20 million fundraising appeals each year. But the team we've put together has worked for all these wonderful organizations on your screen. So we offer fundraising consulting, annual appeal management. We do a lot of outsourced Razor's Edge database administration as well. And we have gotten into, with Stacy's help, fundraising automation over the last 2 years. What started as kind of an interesting side project has become really a core focus of our firm, is doing this amazing stuff through automation. We always test out ideas. We're constantly doing A/B tests and trying to learn new things. And then what we do is we share what we learned through these free webinars. We've committed to building things in public, so we hope that you appreciate it. I know that a lot of folks do and learn a lot of stuff. We also have a software product called Ask Genius. Andrew Becky on the screen here today is in charge of that as our vice president. Ask Genius is a tool that we built to set custom ask amounts. So it is entirely a selfish endeavor where we are running these very large annual appeals, these direct mail appeals for our clients, and we needed a better way to set ask amounts at scale, right? If you're going to send out 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 pieces of direct mail, and you want to get the best results, you need to ask everybody for the right amounts, and that difference that varies from donor to donor. So we built this tool for our own internal purposes called Ask Genius, and then we started to share it with the world, and it's really taken off. So if you have any questions about that, we'll have a chance later on that you can sign up if you want to know more about Ask Genius. But that's all of our webinars are branded under Ask Genius. So if you're wondering what that is, Prenger Solutions Group is the main company we work for, does a lot of consulting. Ask Genius is one of the products that we have. Okay, boy, that was a long intro today. You guys, the price of admission was costly. 6 minutes of background that you really didn't want to know. So let's get into the heart of it here. Using email to fundraise. So the topic today is this magic email. You're all here because you want that home run solution to go raise $100,000. That's what we're going to talk about. As intro, it's important to keep this in perspective, right? So when we're talking about fundraising, direct mail is still king. And I want to be very clear about this because we have plenty of potential clients that will call and say, hey, we heard you guys are tech savvy, right? We really want to stop mailing things. We want to stop paying for postage. We want to start emailing and getting all that cash in the door. That's just not how it works. We wish that it was. We wish that we were in a world where we could just approach people through email. We're not there, right? Direct mail is still the king of fundraising. The right way to look at this is as a delicious chili dog. Stomach's rumbling looking at that. So direct mail, in our analogy, direct mail is both that delicious Polish sausage and the bun. Your online donation page is the mustard. Your email campaign is the relish. Okay? Social media is the onions. That is the way to think of it. So development directors get this. The people who don't get this are the new board member that's got this great idea that says everybody emails, let's stop mailing people. The new CFO that says, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're paying to send out all these letters to people. They don't get it. It's not their job to get it. It is your job as development professionals to understand this. Everything's anchored in direct mail. Okay. Email is ancillary to that. With that said, we also know that you should be emailing your donors a whole lot more often than you are right now. What you should be sending them are personal, heartfelt emails. And by that, I don't mean a monthly e-newsletter from your organization that you send out every Monday, first Monday of the month, because that's what you, that's the old way, right? The new way is personal, heartfelt from a real person. We've done an entire webinar on this topic. Rob from our team can drop that in the chat, talking through how to use email to fundraise, but it's got to be personal, heartfelt from a real person, limited amount of photos and graphics. This always catches people up. They say, we have a great photo, we want to include it. That's fine. What you should not do is design a template in Constant Contact or MailChimp, whatever it is, with a giant banner across the top, right? And then all the different, it looks like a newspaper. That doesn't work. I'm not saying it's not beautiful. I'm not saying that the content isn't great. I'm telling you, it does not work from a fundraising standpoint. People see it as marketing and they don't read it. What they will read is an actual note from a real person. We've learned don't hyperlink things, use raw URLs, because that's what a real person would do. You would copy and paste an address into an email. And we talk about an 8-to-1 nourishment ratio. That's a fancy way of saying for every one time that you're asking someone for a gift, you should connect with them 8 times, right? Through email, tell them that they're great, through social media, through a phone call, through a letter. So for every one ask, you need to have 8 times that you've connected with them. That is what will stop your donors from saying, we only hear from you when you want money. Okay. All in all, for the clients that we're working with, people always say, well, Nick, what do you, over the course of a year, how many emails should we send? It works out roughly like this: 34 emails a year. There's nothing magic about that, but that's about every 2 or 3 weeks, give or take. 30 of those emails should be about impact and appreciation, and 4 of them should be about invitation to donate. When you do this, when you follow this rough outline, here's what can happen. I'm not going to go into the details because we've done entire webinars on this topic, but I want to be as a refresher as we get into the topic for today. We found, we ran a huge A/B test for one of our clients. Basically, we took half of their donors and sent these heartfelt emails over the course of the year. The other half, we didn't do that. We just did what's normal. And what we learned was people who received the emails were 62% more likely to give to their appeal. They were 3 times more likely to renew their gift. So they're not lapsing when they hear from you. The gifts they made were 2.5 times larger than the folks who didn't get emails, right? They were 3 times more likely to make a recurring gift, which is awesome. All of that just by sending heartfelt emails. So yes, you need direct mail. It is the core. It is still how people donate to nonprofits today. You should include as part of your plan a good outreach email campaign that's from a real person to build up, to steward your gifts, to cultivate them. When you do that, the magic happens. Okay. So now let's drill down even further. We talked about direct mail. We talked about what a good email stewardship appeal looks like. When you do get in those small circumstances where you're fundraising through email, when you're actually saying, I want, the purpose of this email is to ask you for money, right? That happens maybe 4 times a year. When you do that, our best advice, this is a language that I use, it's a follow-up to a direct mail piece. And I usually use some phrase, something like, hey, a lot of donors, hey, Stacy, right? Hey, Brendan, hey, Rob, hey, Andrew. Like a lot of donors have asked me, hey, how do we give online? So I just wanted to share this link with you, right? And then you send them to a personalized donation page. Do not overthink your solicitation emails. If you've done your job right and you follow that 8-to-1 rule, you've gained permission to be in their inbox. They know who you are. They understand where you work. They appreciate you because you've been emailing them and telling them how great they are without asking them for money. So when the time comes and you're marrying it with a direct mail appeal, it's the most natural thing in the world for them to get a 2 or 3 sentence email. It's like, hey, by the way, thank you. You're awesome. Here's a link to donate. And when they click on that link to donate, where they should go is not a one-size-fits-all page. It should be a donation page that is tailored to them, right? Whether they're a low-level donor or an entry-level donor, or whether they are a major donor, okay? This is how we set it up for most of our clients. And I don't want to go to a ton of detail because we have an entire hour devoted just to how to set up your donation pages. Rob, if you don't mind, if you could include that link in the chat as well. The way we set up our hierarchy for clients running these sophisticated appeals is we have a bunch of frontline donation pages, which you see on the left, and they're recurring donation pages. When we invite people to make a gift, we want them to sign up for a recurring gift. On that page, if they don't want to make a recurring gift, we invite them to move over and click, and they can make a one-time gift or they can make a pledge. Okay, and our clients do a lot of pledging. I know not in many other organizations, it's either one-time gift or recurring gifts. That's how we set it up. And we have a whole bunch of other donation pages sitting over here. One is for major donors. If you have someone who's donating $10,000 to your annual appeal or to your organization, you should not send them to a donation page that has check boxes that say donate $10,000. That's a weird experience. We know because we've tried it, and those donors then give less. Send them to a page that says, hey, have you thought about giving, here's our information to make an IRA, transfer, to make a stock gift. Show them pictures of people like them making big gifts and being happy. So you have a signature donation page, you've got your default donation page, because you do need something linked to from your website that lets people make a gift if you can't personalize it. And then you'll have a special project page or more, like if you're doing a text to give campaign, if you're doing something for social media, spin up donation pages just for those folks so that you can track how it works. Okay. So to recap, direct mail is king. That's where your money is going to come from. Supplement your direct mail with social media and other things. Email is a part of that supplement that will work well if you spend a lot of your emails telling people how great they are and how wonderful they are, and at a ratio of 8 to 1, asking them for money. So 4 times a year, you can ask them for money. 30 times a year, you're telling them how great they are. When you do ask for money, you're not sending them to one donation page. You're sending them to a personalized donation page based on what you know about them, with ask amounts that are appropriate for them. Okay. The way to do this, just people always ask, yeah, but don't our donors know then that we're sending them to a different page? They have no idea, right? So in most organizations, the donation page is named something like this, right? If you send it in a letter, you say, hey, go make your gift at charity.org/donate or whatever it might be. The donor has no idea. They just know that they're going to make a gift. Okay. If your question is about how do we know what ask amount to put on those donation pages, so when I invite Stacy to give online, how do I know if I should, put buttons that say 50 or 100 or 250 or 500? That's what Ask Genius does. So that's the role that Ask Genius plays. It will go through your entire database. It will help you decide, do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to be conservative? With a couple clicks of a button, you can set ask amounts for everyone in your entire donor database. And depending on the software you use, you can also put those exact same ask amounts in custom donation pages for every single person on your list. It works really well. If you want to know more, we have information, but you don't have to take our word for it. We were reading the Wall Street Journal, what was it, 2 weeks ago now, and they had this great big story about, hey, there's a simple way to get people to donate more to charity. And everything they described is what we have been working on for the last 3 or 4 years, which is setting personalized ask amounts. It just plain works. So you don't need to take our word for it. Go read the Wall Street Journal. If you want to know more, we do have a demo coming up. When's it coming up? Mankey, when's our next one here? Next week, right?
Next week, next Wednesday, June 21st. It's at 11 a.m. Central. So Nick, I got one thing for you. I got a question. Yeah. So what would you say if I told you that you could subscribe to a service and then have 1,000% return on investment?
I would sign up today. It's free money. I'll take it. I'll take it right now.
Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. Ask Genius has done that for our subscribers. So if you're at all curious about how it works, it's very easy to use. Any organization can use it. Sign up for our demo next Wednesday, and we'll talk through the whole process.
It's ridiculous how well it works. I'll just put it that way. So if you haven't used Ask Genius, and a lot of them have, I looked at the names on here, and I want to say hello to everybody. A lot of you are already using Ask Genius. If you haven't yet, check it out. It's awesome. Has nothing to do with this exact topic at hand, but we got to tell you, it's great. So come to the demo. The follow-up email we send to you will give you a chance to sign up for that demo if you don't want to scan it with your QR code. Okay, so now we're getting to the heart of it. Fundraising automation. We had our first big presentation on this a couple weeks ago, Stacy. I think you and Austin helped us when we talked through gift processing. So Stacy, what is fundraising automation? How did we get involved? Give us the background here.
So Microsoft now has a product out there. It's part of the Office suite. You probably have access to a free version right now in your Microsoft Office called Power Automate. And basically what it does is it connects to hundreds and hundreds of different applications that normally would not talk to one another. So a couple of years ago, Blackbaud released a certified connector to the Razor's Edge inside of Power Automate. So it made it super easy to connect your Razor's Edge to everything else in the world. So we can now take data from Razor's Edge to decide who to send emails to and then directly send them right out of your Outlook. We can take actions from Razor's Edge and turn them into tasks in Asana or Microsoft Planner or anything else. And vice versa. If you have a fundraiser using Asana that doesn't want to get into Razor's Edge, you can take their data from whatever other task manager they're using and put it into an action in Razor's Edge. So a million options of things that can make everybody's lives easier.
And this is, it's not, as Stacy said, so this isn't just a Razor's Edge thing, but it applied to us because in the consulting work we do, almost all of our clients are on Razor's Edge. So that was a big deal. But you can also, almost any software out there that's built in recent years is built with API connections, correct? And you can connect those API connections to Power Automate and then to something else.
Yep.
Okay, so it's this big universal adapter that we've been going bonkers on because it is amazing what you can do. And again, if I can ask Rob, if you don't mind, include the link in the chat to the webinar we did on automation from a couple weeks ago. If you haven't watched that yet, you have to. It will change the way that you run your development office. It just will, right? And so whether you want to jump in now or reluctantly a year from now, this is what the future looks like for fundraising and development. So Certified Connector came out 2 years ago. Stacy and her team just really started jumping in and seeing, okay, let's put it through its paces. Let's see what we can do. And we got to this amazing point where now, for a lot of the clients that we work with, we've got to this point where we will draft emails for the development director based on things that happened inside of Razor's Edge the night before. So I think of my friend Bill in Kansas City. I was talking with Bill yesterday. I'm going to see him again on Thursday. When he goes into work every morning, he opens his laptop and there are 5 emails drafted for him. And he clicks on one of them, and this is in his Outlook. This isn't inside of Razor's Edge. This is his Outlook where we all work every single day, or Gmail if you use Gmail. So he clicks on that draft and he looks at it. And this one, it happens to be a guy named John Smith that says, hey, John, thanks for your gift. This is the 8th year in a row you've been supporting our organization. And Bill has 5 of these every single morning. Clicks on the draft email. If it's not a good fit, he just deletes it. No harm done. He's not sure about the donor. It just doesn't feel right. We trust his gut. Just delete it. If he knows the person, he writes a little note at the top, says, hey, it was, John, it was great to see you, and the kids at the, festival last weekend, whatever it is. And then he clicks it and sends it out. Takes him 5 minutes every single morning. Bill told me that this is the single most impactful thing that's happened in this 30 years of fundraising. He says, Nick, I get stopped constantly. I'll see people in the grocery store, or they'll reply back to the email and say, this is amazing. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. To, like, the donors feel noticed, they feel seen. This is what automation can do. It is an absolute game changer for many organizations, right? And every time we work with someone and we show them that this is possible, they cannot believe it. It's like what we always wanted from fundraising, but we couldn't do because the software hadn't caught up yet. So that's what this is where the world's going. So picture a time when you go in, you open up your email, and there's an email drafted to somebody who just made a big gift increase, right? Or maybe it's Susie's birthday and you want to make sure to send her a personal note. Maybe somebody just made a milestone gift. It's the 20th time they've given to your organization, right? Side bumps, which is what we're going to talk about on the next slide. Somebody entered a new giving tier. Somebody made a donation to your hospital foundation that puts them in the president's circle, and you want to make sure to send them a personal email from a real person saying thank you for that. Okay. First time donors, start a welcome series. This is all the stuff you can do. Go watch our webinar on automation. We will have many more on them in the future. But today we're talking about one specific thing that we did. And we're gonna call it the magic email. And here's the big reveal. We're gonna give you the whole text of the email, and then Stacy and I are gonna talk through what it is and why it works so well. Okay. So this is the magic email. What is that? 5 one-sentence paragraphs. This is what raised more than $100,000 for one of our clients. Let's go through what it says. Start at the top. It says, good morning, Susan. I'm reaching out because I was going through our records. I saw you made a gift to our PETA last year. You're awesome. Then it says, we've got a whole bunch of exciting stuff going on, and I want to talk to you about them, right? I'd love to sit down and share them with you. Here's one example. Blah, blah, blah. We recently did XYZ. And of course, I've anonymized all of this. The email then closes and it says, would you be open to a visit? Virtual or phone or in person, because I want to tell you more. You've been a great donor. I'd love to talk with you. Reply to the email or click on the link below to get to my calendar. That's it, right? So Stacy, who did we send this email to?
So this email went actually to, I believe it was 6,000 Libans and Sibans. So people that gave up to 5 years ago and hadn't given since, or there were also people included that did give last year, but hadn't given yet. So there were some people that were pretty long lapsed in that list. And yeah.
And we sent it out. So targeting people that had given before. This is not new donors. This is not a cold list. It's people that have given before, but they haven't yet. History would say they should have given by now. So we send this email out to the list. And Stacy, what happened at that point?
The response was amazing. They got very few requests for meetings, but a lot of gifts came in.
And for the folks on the line, I'm wondering if that jumps out to you, like why this is so effective, but we will just spell it out. We've stumbled upon this realization, right, which you all already know. Nobody wants to meet with you, especially your donors that love your organization. They don't. Like, we're all busy, and the idea of sitting down with a fundraiser makes us nervous. They're going to ask us for these things. So the whole point of the email is to tell them, you're great, you're fantastic, I want to meet with you. Like, that would be great. Let's set a time to meet. And what is the donor's reaction? It's the exact same thing that I would do. I'd be like, oh, heck no. But let me click on this link, like, to make that donation because I want to support the organization. They're telling me that. And that is exactly what happened. So this magic email raised more than $100,000 in just a few short months for our client. I want to talk about all the ways we can automate this. So just going through, obviously the person's first name. This is written from a real person to a real person. Good morning, Susan. I'm getting their name correct, and you can automate that. Pull the data from your donor database. Then you can automate. In this case, it says, hey, I noticed you made a gift to our appeal last year. That email can change, Stacy. That could say, I know that you supported us in the last few years, or whatever it needs to be, based on what's happening inside of your database. The level of customization you can do now that you can't do if you're just sending out a blast email from Razor's Edge or Salesforce or Bloomerang or Constant Contact or whatever it is. Automation lets you create these bespoke emails. So it says, thank you for your generosity. It could say, thank you, for your continued generosity if they've donated the last 2 or 3 years, or thank you, again, whatever the message is you want to send, you can now do it. The example in this case, right? We recently helped 300 homeless veterans get off the streets. You can get to the point, depending on how accurate your database is and how you track funds and appeals and what different activities you have going on. The example that you share with that donor could be tied to something that they supported, right? Maybe they supported a golf outing, maybe they supported a gala event, maybe they gave something that was like tuition grants, whatever that is, you could have this email just be queued up to serve them that example. Okay, on to the end. Who it comes from can be customized. So Stacy, is it correct that if I'm a large organization, I've got 5 major gift officers, you can set up this automation to look back, see people who've given in historically, they haven't yet given this year, see who they're assigned to, and then populate these messages for each major donor officer. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Life-changing, right? So think what I wish we had a live audience, right? So I could see people's faces, but I just know there's people like looking at each other and like, is this real, right? We're moving from a world where the only instrument you have is a very blunt instrument, which is a blast email, or single-handedly typing out a whole bunch of emails by hand. And we're moving to this new world where you can have that personal approach to every single donor from the right person in your organization, and it just goes, right? It just flows on its own. And then the link to give at the bottom there, again, we talked about donation pages. That's why I went on that little tangent about donation pages, because the link there that you're inviting them to give at should be different. We know that people are going to donate because they don't want to meet. We know that they've donated in the past, so they're a likely group. They're going to click on that link to give and make sure that you're taking them to a donation page that's appropriate for them, right? Whether they're a $100 donor or a $1,000 donor. So all of that is the magic email. And there's a lot going on in there, but it's incredible and it works, which is all that we ever want, which is a good idea that works. Here's how it won't work. And then we're going to talk about how to get started with Automate. Do not start from zero and think that you're going to go raise $100,000 because Nick and Andrew and Stacy said this is a great email. It just doesn't work, right? It's a great solution for a established nonprofit, you've been fundraising for a while, you've got direct mail appeals going, and you have a big enough group of Blybunts and Cybunts, this is what you should do in that scenario. You cannot start with just email. You got to build up your pipeline. You got to do direct mail, all that stuff. If you're at that point that you can use this, do it through automation, because then you can set up the timing. You can set up who is the right person that should come from, all of those wonderful things. So let's spend 2 minutes, Stacy, just talking about automation, how people can get started on it, and then we'll jump in with Q&A. Okay. Okay. So how do we get started? People have been hearing about automation for a while, including from us. Where's the first thing they go, Stacy, if they've never done anything in automation?
So if you don't know, check with your IT department, or if you are the IT department, go to Microsoft.com, find out if you have been registered as a nonprofit. You probably have. And if you have not, you need to register, and it's not a very complicated process to get that done, and it takes a while for them to get back. It's not instantaneous, but yes, do that 100%, get on that list so that Microsoft knows about you and will give you special nonprofit pricing.
Yeah, so first make sure Microsoft knows you're a nonprofit, and then what are the licenses that you need?
So most of this, if you're using Power Automate, is going to be a lot easier if you have an Office 365 license. If you are a Google shop, there's ways to use Google inside of Power Automate also. So it's not required, but it does make your life a lot easier. And then you will need, if you're going to connect to a premium connector inside of Power Automate, you'll need a per user license. So the free license that you have right now will let you use Microsoft products to do automations, so you can send yourself an email if something is added to a SharePoint folder or something like that, but you won't be able to use Razor's Edge or some of the other premium connectors without the per user license. So you will need that. And you can buy both of these licenses at TechSoup, which is the kind of clearinghouse for nonprofit software and hardware.
So in our example, like I'm thinking back, so let's say college or university, you've got 5 major gift officers. You want to set this up so that it's creating and drafting emails to come from the right major gift officers. Do they need 5, 6 different licenses for that?
Not necessarily. We've done it with one license, and then still you're able to connect to various people's Outlooks to send the emails from everyone from the same, from within the same Power Automate license. So you could do it either way, with one license or with multiples.
So the license, and I want to be clear on this because it's probably the top question I get too. Like everybody's looking for the catch, like, oh, we're a big organization, so I got to buy 30 licenses. Right. That's not the case. Power Automate, it is not, you need a license for every person sending an email. Those are 2 separate things. It's you need a license for everyone that's creating a flow, and that flow could have it be sent from different emails, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So it works with Gmail. It works better with us anyway, with Office 365, just because obviously it's a Microsoft product. You need an Automate license. So you already probably have Office 365. You may not have Power Automate. So at this point, you're out $4 a month, right? For you to be up and running on all of this. And then where should they go from there?
So flow.microsoft.com is the homepage for Power Automate. You can go there right now and sign up for a free trial and try out the Razor's Edge connectors or whatever else you might want to try. It's a month long, so you have plenty of time to play with it and see if it's something you want to get more involved with.
Yeah. Stacy, you had done nothing in this world, right? In the note. So Stacy is background. Stacy is a brilliant Razor's Edge database administrator. She's a experienced fundraiser, has run large annual appeals, but had never done any of this stuff before. Give them a sense. What was it like for you from the moment we're like, hey, Stacy, why don't you go learn more about this? Like, how was it? Like, give people a sense of what it is.
It was really, really tough at first. So Microsoft Power Automate is a low-code platform where you can teach your computer to do a lot of things without actually knowing the programming languages behind it, which is very, very cool, and allowed somebody like me who really likes Excel to figure out how to make my computer do a lot of stuff. So it's super cool, but there are a lot of skills involved. There's a lot of thinking involved, a lot of logic, and all of those kinds of things. So it really may not be for you. It does take some time to kind of get used to how it works and kind of figure out all the tricks behind it. So you're all totally capable of it. It just depends on how much time you want to spend on it.
Right. And it's really, I mean, boiling it down, when we talk about no code, for the people that haven't, in the old days, if you want to do something like this, you need a developer, right? Like ones and zeros, writing code to make things happen. Now the new revolution is no code tools, which is you don't need to know how to program. but you still need that mindset, right? So it's a whole bunch of if then statements, right? So you need to connect your two pieces of software and then say, if this happens inside of this software, then do this.
That's
And
right.
then within that, you know, it turns out that it's never just 2 steps. There's like 30 steps that, you know, fall into each of those.
Exactly.
But it's possible, and it is where the world's going. It'll only get easier in time.
That's
Okay. So this, I think I just showed that there's tons of templates. So you go in there and Stacy, you can also set aside your nonprofit gig, right? Like for all the folks on the line, like you can do things on your own. Like, hey, anytime I get a, you know, email from my parents, put it in this folder, you know, over here. Like there's all sorts of stuff you can do, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have one that sends me a text message when I have a new Calendly appointment created. So that, yeah, so that if somebody is scheduling something, I know about it as soon as possible. So yeah, there's all sorts of things that are not fundraising related that could make your life easier. And there's thousands and thousands of templates that you could set up in a few minutes.
Awesome. Send me a text anytime 2 weeks ahead of Mother's Day to remind me to buy flowers or whatever. Okay. Exactly. So go play around. For the folks. I mean, you're here on this webinar today because you wanted to know more about this magic email, but also because you're interested in automation. This is where the world's going. Go check it out. We encourage you. We're here as a resource for you. In terms of what we're doing with all of this, I mean, we've been messing around in automation for a long time. Here's what we're doing. So for the past 2 years, Stacy and Austin and our team, we've gone in and we just played with it. So we have a whole bunch of nonprofit clients at PSG that let us mess around and try new things with them. So we've used them as a laboratory and we've been doing all these tests. Now through next month, we're actually building this out as a service. So we know that it works. We've delighted our clients with it. And there's so many people asking, hey, Stacy, can you build us that heartfelt email series? Can you build us a new donor welcome series? Can you automate filling in all the nicknames inside of Razor's Edge with, you know, when we enter a new constituent? So we've committed. We're going to do that. We're going to launch it in July. I'll give you a link in a minute if you want to sign up for the waiting list for that. And then in July, we're going to launch this as a standalone service. So if every nonprofit, you're capable of doing this on your own. If you don't want to, if you don't think you have the skills, if you don't have the time, and you just want someone to package this up and build these flows for you, we're happy to do so. But not until July. So you gotta hold on, go enjoy your summer, come back, you know, late July, and we'll have more for you. If you want to know more, I'll give you a QR code here, and I'll even put up a poll, and then we're gonna get to Q&A here. Let me put this poll up here. Okay. So we've got a wait list. I was just looking the other day. Rob was sharing it with me. I think there's 700 or 800 Stacy organizations that probably you won't sleep tonight now that you know that. But there's a whole bunch of organizations that want some help with this. It's coming soon. We just want to make sure that we're doing it, you know, the right way and got everything set up. So if you want, fill out the poll and we'll add you to the wait list. And when we announce. In the meantime, let's get Andrew. Do you mind have you looked through Q&A at all? Where should we start here?
Yes, go ahead, Stacy.
I was just going to say we can start at the top with Matthew's question. For the drafts, yes, you want to have as much faith in your data as possible. So there are a couple things we've done with this flow to ensure that we don't accidentally email somebody that just gave, right? Because depending on how you want to set it up, you could either, you know, manually create the list of people we want to receive this email, or you could have Power Automate go in and ask a bunch of questions about the donors giving and figure it out, right? Figure out who to send it to. But we also have built in a condition that checks the person that you're about to email and their spouse for gifts, you know, in the past, whatever, gifts to the fund that you're asking for, or whatever it is, so that they'll get kicked out of the flow if they made a gift last week, but we didn't catch it or something. So yes, you can build that in.
That is so smart. So, and I imagine that's the sort of thing you just learn through trial and error. So start small, start narrow. If you've never built an automation, don't go guns blazing and build something that's going to go out to thousands of people, right? Start small and learn, because there's going to be little nuances there. But if you can think of it, you can program around it. But as with all things fundraising, your life is a whole lot easier if you have a clean database. If you have a big, messy database, it's not going to be so great. Same question. I think Colleen had a similar question, right? So like, different entities sharing an RE database, you know, campaigns, funds, appeals, like thoughts for Colleen here?
Yep, same thing is totally doable. So you can still, you know, use manual tags to decide who you're going to email, and that gives you a little bit more control of it. or you can definitely, it's very easy to filter based on giving to certain campaigns or appeals or whatever. So that's all totally doable.
And for our clients, I should share, like, the way that you can do anything is a short, which is paralyzing, to a lot of organizations. Anything you can dream about, you can pretty much do now through automation. The way we focus, at least on the outreach through donor emails, is there's two ways you can do it. You can automatically have an email go out, right? That you're just sight unseen. If a donor makes a gift and it's their first time they've ever made a gift, automatically send them this email. You don't have to do anything. You can also create it as a draft that needs a real human to review it and send it. So that's kind of your fallback. And we do that whenever we're trying something new, because we want to make sure that we have eyes on it. And then in the future, we can decide maybe it goes out automatically. But we also do that anytime it's a major donor, or it's a flow that's going to touch somebody that we really want to make sure that we're building a relationship with. So automation can be scary if you think it's just me running in the background, you don't see it. And if that's the case, great. So make everything you're doing be drafts that a human, just it's serving it up on a platter, because that's where the real time saving is. If I'm running a medium-sized nonprofit, I would love nothing more than to have time to send a personal note to every single donor, right? And call them by their name and say, thank you for your gift to do XYZ. That would be a really great thing, and we'd raise a bunch more money. I just never have that time. So automation can be that tool. Serve it up on a platter, give them to me 5 or 10, a day. Let me review it. That's doable for me. So that's, Stacy, am I looking at it the right way?
100%. That's the thing that it does for you. It drafts for you all those emails that you would want to send if you had an extra 2 hours every day to look up donors, find their giving history, type out an email, right? So this is the thing it does. It just basically does the easy part for you, and you still provide the brain and the heart
Right.
to get emails out.
And it's as much building the automation to go out as it is building in the governors to make sure that nothing goes wrong. So like if just peel back the layer a little bit more, if you're sending out heartfelt emails to donors, you also need a flow to make sure you're marking them inside a Razor's Edge so that you don't send the same email to them, again within a few months, or even again next year. Like, so it's like here's what we want the automation to do, and then here's how we're going to protect ourselves, to make sure that we're doing this the right way. Sophie asked a question: are there any automate trainings, things that you offer to help people learn the platform? So the answer from us is no, only because we're not built for that, and it's just a whole different. That's not where our business is going, is to offer one-on-one trainings. That's not it. What we're going to offer is, if an organization wants to pick from a menu of 30 automations that are awesome, and they just want to have somebody create it for them so they can do it, that's what we're going to do. Stacy, where can people go if they want? Is this a YouTube thing? Is it Microsoft offer training?
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, there's 1,001 videos about how to do various things in Power Automate. So that's a great place to start. If you're a Razor's Edge user, Blackbaud has actually put together a really great training called the Accelerator. That is, I think, 7-hour-long videos, and it's a great intro to how to use the Razor's Edge connectors. So that's also a great place to start. That's how I learned to use Power Automate. I can get you a link to that. So yeah, and there's just 1,000 things out there. Microsoft Community has a great kind of question and answer forum. So yep, get online and look around.
And stay tuned to us. If you haven't yet signed up, if you go to askgenius.com, we have our newsletter. That's where you hear about all these webinars. So we're constantly, it's about once a month, and it might increase more than that as we have a topic of interest, but we're always leading sessions on this. So make sure you sign up for Ask Genius newsletter. Not only does it tell you about the webinars that are coming up, anytime we see a good resource, we share it with the world. So that's become a pretty popular thing for folks here working in the nonprofit world. So sign up for that. Any last questions? Get them in here. I saw one come up here. Mr. Mankey, anything we haven't covered yet as I read through this question that just came in?
No, but what's coming next is I will send out an email with a link to this recording. So you'll see that, plus all of our other resources. So other webinars that we've done, blogs that we've put out there, a link to our newsletter, a link to our next webinar, which is going to be about AI and what that means for nonprofits and how you can join the robot revolution. So we'll cover all of that stuff. So be on the lookout for that email from me. You'll get all of this material.
Awesome. I have this thing with my kids. So they have like a little Google alarm clock, so you just, the old days that we had to live through, right, of like setting an alarm clock, and now they just have to say it. But I always make them say thank you to Google every time, into Alexa. I'm like, there's going to be an uprising, and they're going to remember who was nice to them. So like, it's so funny because they're like ingrained in them now, you know, like, anyway. Question from Marianne here, regarding the live button, side button email. They say they usually send live button, side button direct mail. Should they still do that? Does this replace that? Yes, still send your direct mail. This should be supplemental to that, right? They will get your mail through the mail. They'll open it, receive it, but then they'll get the email from you and they'll click to donate through the email, because your email will say, hey, we'd love to meet. They'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to meet. You know, here's the way they give online. Over time, you can test it out, right? So you can maybe grab a small subset, don't send the direct mail, see if the email alone will carry the same weight, get the same results, and then you just do what works out, you know, from a dollar and cent standpoint, whichever one works better. But this is not us telling you to get rid of your direct mail. Direct mail is still king. Email, more and more people want to give online. When they get the direct mail, more than half of them will still give online, but it just has to come through the direct mail. That's the way we're all wired, at least for now. Okay, so that was our session for today. We will get those links out to you. Thank you all. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate the questions you asked. We're going to continue to build in public and share everything that we know. If you want to learn more, make sure you sign up for our Ask Genius newsletter and come to that demo next Wednesday at 11 o'clock Central. If you haven't yet, it's going to blow your mind, raise you a bunch more money. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Stacy. We'll see everybody on the next one.